Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. More deleted scenes and information about the Stranger Things Season 5 finale have been released the past few days. The Duffer brothers have done another extensive interview revealing more details about their alternate plans for Eleven's ending in the ending of the series, also the true secret canon ending for the series. And a lot of fans also believe that they have since learned that there is a secret Episode 9 set after the finale that Netflix has not released yet called Conformity Gate Theory. There's a lot to unpack here. I do think that the Duffers inadvertently, or maybe on purpose, gave away the canon ending during their interview, so we actually do know what really happened with 11, but I will also explain what I think is going on with all this Conformity Gate stuff too. If you've lived through other major series finales like the Game of Thrones Season 8 ending or like the Lost TV show ending, this level of fan theories and evidence about alternate endings, unreleased episodes, missing footage, changed plans is standard fare. It happens all the time when big series like this end in the fandom, or a large portion of the fandom is unsatisfied with the ending. So when I started to see all the Conformity Gate theories after the Stranger Things finale, I was not surprised at all. Like, it is totally normal for stuff like this to happen. Just you wait a couple years, it'll happen again after the Avengers Secret Wars movie comes out. It'll be the exact same situation. Starting with the biggest stuff first, Eleven's fate. Since my recent videos, some new behind-the-scenes footage has leaked out of Eleven jumping out the back of the truck and running to the store. I didn't see where this originally came from, but it's been circulating for a little while. Videos like this that are filmed on set when they're making the actual episodes usually come from the cast or crew members posted to their social, and then they either delete them really quickly and you never find out where they come from. The fact that Netflix has not taken this down yet, there's a lot of stuff that they took down real quickly along the way the last couple of weeks, implies that they're fine with it being online since the series is meant to be done. All the actors, the crew members, the Duffers themselves have been posting all their behind-the-scenes pictures and footage the past few days. So apparently Netflix is totally cool with this footage of Eleven jumping out the back of the truck and running to the store. I think in context, if you think about it, what's probably going on here is this is probably footage of them filming the scene of Eleven escaping and running off to Iceland with the 3 waterfalls when Mike is explaining his story to the other kids during the epilogue while they're playing the Dungeons & Dragons game. So I do not take this behind-the-scenes leaked footage of Eleven surviving as absolute confirmation that she was always meant to survive the ending. There's more stuff that the Duffers talk about that actually lean more in that direction, though. Separate from this footage leaking out, the Duffers also released a much longer interview where they dig really deep into their thought process on Eleven's ending and whether or not she actually lived or died, like what the actual canon ending is.
Very hopeful note. And so the equivalent of that would be Mike getting some sort of sign from Elle that maybe they'll be able to meet up again one day.
During that, they say they originally started with a much less vague ending where they confirmed she survived and she did end the episode together with Mike and the other kids. Everyone was alive together. It was the most saccharine, happiest version of the ending that they could have come up with. Then they said they felt like they could never make that ending work, like on the page, for whatever reason, they just couldn't come up with a way for it to make sense for all the characters, and that's when they pivoted to the more halfway idea, the hopeful ending for all the characters, but it was meant to be more like the ending of the E.T. movie. So the ideas of the scene of her in Iceland with the 3 waterfalls was still meant to be real, and they were going to have a moment with Mike that would have been more like the ending of Steven Spielberg's E.T. movie. This is actually a very big thing for them in the interview. The Duffers talked about how the ending of the E.T. movie in their minds was a perfect ending to a movie, and they wanted to copy that vibe because Steven Spielberg was one of their guiding light inspirations for the entire series. Elliot's gang, the kids on their bikes trying to save E.T., is basically Mike's group on their bikes all the time early in the series trying to save Eleven all the time. If you have not seen the E.T. movie, careful for spoilers for the ending of that movie, because we need to talk about it to talk about the ending of Stranger Things. At the end of the movie, E.T. is able to leave Earth after his people come back in another spaceship to rescue him. He leaves Elliot, and at the end of the movie, Elliot goes outside and tries to contact E.T. again on the radio that the two of them had constructed earlier in the movie that E.T. had used to contact his people to tell them to come save him. The movie ends with the idea that Elliot will also be successful in contacting E.T. again, and eventually they'll be able to reunite someday. But you never actually see them reunite on screen. The movie ends with the idea that they will meet again someday, but you don't know when or how. So when the Duffers said that they were trying to copy this moment with 11's ending, the idea was that they would be less ambiguous about Mike being able to get in contact with 11 again, but you still don't actually see that happen on screen. The ending just implies that it's going to happen eventually, meaning that 11 would have had to have survived for that to be possible. Also, if you look at the behind the scenes for Mike's bedroom, next to his bed he has the same picture of 11 that was on his desk next to the typewriter. I'm guessing he just moved the picture next to his bed, and amongst other various 80s Easter eggs and references to things from previous seasons all over his walls, notice on the board there's an E.T. figure. The E.T. movie, in context, came out in 1982, so Mike and the kids would have seen it multiple times by this point.
So yeah, Ross and I know. And we were just talking to Millie about it, but I think it takes away the power of the ending if you tell people what you were thinking as you were writing it. Yeah, I was gonna say she's not going to tell you. She's not going to tell you either. If you want to try to get that.
Then during the interview, the Duffers said that Millie Bobby Brown is the only other person besides the two of them, and maybe Sean Levy on top of that, who know the true canon ending for 11, and they swore her to secrecy. And during the interview, the Duffers literally stopped the interview to text her like mid-interview to remind her not to tell anyone. When you look at them talking about this, the vibe is not them being sad. They're actually happy about this. A lot of secret smiles behind it, like, ha ha ha, we're not going to tell the actual ending. Which I think is code for 11 really did survive, and Mike's ending was much closer to being accurate. It's still meant to be his theory that he came up with how she survived, but the big details of the theory are true. She did escape, and she is off somewhere else and hiding, and eventually at some point they want to be hopeful that he would be able to contact her again. Otherwise, what would be the point in laughing and smiling with all the three of them and the Duffers, Millie Bobby Brown, not telling anyone about the secret ending? They would just come out and tell everybody. Also, right after the finale aired, Millie Bobby Brown and her husband posted this on their social, I believe, with them at a theater for one of the screenings. After the screening started happening, she was going around to theaters, basically going to visit fans, thanking them for coming. I believe is meant to represent her believing that 11 survived or did not survive. That's why we've been seeing people post that on social. Do you believe, yes or no? The whole reason why the Duffers didn't want to make it more clear she survived in the actual episode that aired is because they wanted that E.T. type of ending where you're hopeful that she and Mike would eventually reunite someday, but you don't know when and you don't know how. And if they had come out and said absolutely 100% she survived, like right after the finale aired, no mistake about it, they would have trampled on their intended Spielberg type of ending. Now, all the Conformity Gate Secret Episode 9 stuff is a totally different theory that fans came up with based on other moments from the ending. The 11 ending is just a small part of that. So addressing that, the speedrun version of Conformity Gate is fans believe Netflix was doing something secret on January 7th because of a mystery post on one of their social accounts. In the way the Season 5 episodes are logged in Netflix's cataloging system behind the scenes, and they're delivered to Netflix to actually release on the platform, were not logged in the traditional way that Netflix identifies episodes, leading fans to believe that the season was not actually over yet, and there was another secret episode to come out, like episode 9. On top of that, when searching Netflix for Fake Ending or Stranger Things Season 5 Episode 9, this result would pop up with like an episode, making it seem like another secret episode was out there waiting to drop. And also, days after fans watched the finale, some would still get this alert from Netflix that they send out when new episodes are released. Since they'd already watched the final episode and they got this alert for another new episode, a lot of people believed that they were getting an alert about Episode 9, another secret episode. Netflix did just announce that they're releasing another episode, but it's not Episode 9 the way people are thinking about it. It's a behind-the-scenes documentary about the making of Season 5 that will feature unreleased footage, scenes that got cut, and some that never wound up getting filmed. Game of Thrones did the same thing after the Game of Thrones Season 8 finale. There was like this special documentary about the making of the final season with a bunch of unreleased footage.
There was a debate in terms of 11's fate. God, I don't know how to play this.
During the trailer that Netflix just released for this, you can see the whiteboards behind the cast as they're doing their read-through of the final episodes, and there are some scenes on the whiteboards that never actually wound up in the actual episodes. This is supposed to release on January 13th. So when it comes to all the Conformity Gate Secret Episode 9 stuff, I don't think personally that Netflix is secretly sitting on an extra episode that takes place after Episode 8. I think a lot of it is just down to coincidences and mistakes made during the chain of custody of the episodes as they were finished filming and delivered to Netflix to be released. There were a lot of actors early on before season 5 who said their characters would be having big moments or paying things off that never wound up happening in the finale. The actress who plays Patty Newby in the stage play said that her character was going to be a bigger part of season 5. That never wound up happening. I think a lot of stuff that got cut was probably due to a combination of the delays in season 5 with the strikes, multiple strikes, and also the Duffers being left to themselves to do whatever they wanted on their own to finish the episodes. Basically, Netflix leaving them to their own devices to do whatever they wanted with the final episodes. And Sean Levy, who is the more experienced super producer who was making the show with them since season 1 every season, like he was there with them filming the episodes since season 1. During season 5, though, he was off busy filming Deadpool and Wolverine, leaving the Duffers on their own more to finish the episodes, and Stranger Things has been their first real big project, so I think a lot of the weirdness, dissatisfaction, and the way that things went down is largely just down to this being their first time doing something this big on their own. And if you are really unhappy with the way things ended, just in general, remember, they can always fix it in 10 years, 20 years with a reunion of the characters. That's like the big thing in Hollywood now, is doing a reunion episode after like 10 or 20 years. The cast of Harry Potter coming back together is a good example of this phenomenon. So the really big takeaway here is that I do think that 11 is meant to have survived, and they just want to keep a tamper on it because they want to have more of the ambiguous Spielberg ending that is hopeful, like yes, eventually Elliot will contact E.T. at some point, Mike will eventually contact 11 at some point, but they don't want to answer when that's going to be or like completely trample on the mystery of what might happen. And the secret episode that Netflix is sitting on is a documentary episode, not an actual canonical episode 9 that takes place after the end of episode 8. If there are any really cool deleted scenes or alternate endings or other things that we didn't know about in that documentary, I will do a new episode video about it. There's a lot of stuff and a lot of these theories that are rolled up into all this that I didn't completely address in this video, but like I said, big beats. This is what I think is actually going on.
We'd have to wait a really long time until our cast is so old that they would have kids that are around 12 years old. Like, you know, like the Goonies spinoff.
Everybody post all your reactions in the comments below. If there's any Easter eggs or references or things that I didn't address during this video that you want me to talk about, just write them in the comments below and I'll try to address them in the comments. The next really big thing that's happening this month in January are Night of the Seven Kingdoms Game of Thrones episodes. Those will start in a couple weeks. I'll be doing episode videos for that. I just did a new trailer video for that, so I'll link it in the description below. And we have a brand new Avengers Doomsday X-Men trailer that will release tomorrow. That'll be my next real big video. So click here for that. I'll update the link as soon as I post it. And click here for all my other Stranger Things finale videos. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.